If I asked you to complete the sentence, Frankenstein's monster was, you probably wouldn't say a vegetarian, but he actually was. And so was the 19-year-old woman who created him. Today we're making the first meal he ever had, or stole I should say, a shepherd's breakfast. Welcome to episode 2 of the Storybook Kitchen. After exploring the world and facing some of his first rejections, the creature in Frankenstein finds himself in a shepherd's hut. Finding the door open, I entered. An old man sat in it near a fire, over which he was preparing his breakfast. He turned on hearing a noise, and perceiving me, shrieked loudly, and quitting the hut, ran across the fields with a speed of which his debilitated form hardly appeared capable. I greedily devoured the remnants of the shepherd's breakfast, which consisted of bread, cheese, milk, and wine. The latter, however, I did not like. Since the story starts in Geneva, we could use any 18th century Swiss bread recipe, but honestly I'll take any excuse to make Zopf, the Swiss braided bread. This bread goes way back, all the way to the first bakers' guilds in the 13th and 14th centuries. There's even an old legend that says that it represents a woman's braid, which she would bury with her husband. Whether that's true or not is hard to say, but one thing is for sure, this bread is delicious, and to make it you will need 4 cups of flour, half a cup of butter, 1.5 tablespoons of sugar, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 1.5 teaspoons of active dry yeast, half a cup of water, half a cup of milk, and 1 egg. We're going to create a well in the flour and put the sugar and yeast in the center, then sprinkle the salt around it. We'll mix the milk and water with the egg, and then add that to the batter previously melted. This creates the perfect temperature to mix with the yeast, and we will do that as we mix the dry and wet ingredients. We cover and let it rest for 10 minutes before kneading the dough for another 10 minutes. Yes, full 10 minutes. Zopf is loved all over Switzerland, but it looks a little different depending on where you are. And today we're going to follow the 2-strand braid method. Instead of attempting to explain what I'm doing, I'm going to link in the description the tutorial I used, which was extremely informative. And once you have created your braid, we're going to brush it with a mixture of an egg yolk and a tablespoon of milk and let it rise for another hour before painting it again with the same mixture and then baking for 35 minutes at 390 degrees. While it bakes, let's talk about the fascinating woman who created Frankenstein. Mary Shelley was born in London in 1797 to one of the most influential feminist writers of all time, Mary Wollstonecraft. Sadly, less than 2 weeks after her birth, her mother died, and Mary was raised by her father, William Godwin, a political philosopher and novelist who cared deeply about her education. In 1814, when she was just 17, Mary fell in love and fled London with her lover, the poet Percy Shelley. The name kind of gives away how that turned out, but the story is more complicated because Percy was already married and already had a child. Still, they traveled across Europe together and eventually ended up in Geneva, where they spent time with Lord Byron, of all people. The group would stay up late discussing literature, politics, and science until one night Byron proposed a contest. Each of them would write a ghost story. That challenge was the seed for Frankenstein. In Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the creature we've come to picture, this babbling green body stitched together and jolted to life by electricity, doesn't actually exist. That image belongs more to cinematic reinterpretations than to Shelley's imagination. From the moment he comes to life, the creature just longs for companionship. Terrified by his appearance, people scream, attack him, or just flee before he can even speak. And eventually this loneliness turns into rage. The creature is never even granted a name. Instead, Victor calls him fiend, demon. That absence of a name defines the creature's tragedy. He's intelligent, he's articulate, he's sensitive, but he exists outside of this human category. Shelley uses that denial of identity to ask who the true monster is in this story, the created or the creator. And the monster himself wrestles with that question. He teaches himself to read. He studies Paradise Lost by John Milton, a poem that explores the biblical temptation of Adam and Eve by Satan. "I ought to be thy Adam," the creature tells Frankenstein, "but I am rather the fallen angel." Later adaptations would turn that philosophical tragedy into a spectacle of lightning and science gone wrong, but Shelley's Frankenstein is subtler and, to be honest, far more unsettling. It's about responsibility, about loneliness, belonging, being the other, and the cost of creation without compassion. And these are questions we wrestle with to our day. The full title of Frankenstein is Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus. Prometheus is a titan in Greek mythology that shapes humankind out of clay and then steals fire from the gods to give it to them. This act of defiance earns him eternal punishment. You can see how that mirrors Victor Frankenstein. But there's another layer to the title, because both Mary and Percy Shelley were deeply influenced by the vegetarian philosophies of their time. Percy even wrote an essay that was titled A Vindication of Natural Diet, and he argues that eating animals corrupted bodies and souls. Mary was familiar with Joseph Ritson, who claimed that Prometheus, when he gave fire to humankind, also gave us the temptation to eat meat. In that reading, Prometheus was not just humanity's benefactor, but he introduced this fall from innocence. And when the creature refuses to eat meat, he's ironically the only one in the story who lives according to the natural order. Victor, like Prometheus, tries to enter the realm of gods, but the creature remains closer to nature and perhaps, in Shelley's eyes, closer to childlike innocence. The myth of Frankenstein has endured well beyond the 19th century. It echoes louder as science and technology have taken center stage in modern life. With every new breakthrough, from industrial machines to artificial intelligence, Shelley's warning feels freshly relevant. What happens when our creations outgrow our understanding of what it means to be human? Shelley's novel remains a mirror that reflects both our ambition and our unease with the power that knowledge brings. And now let's eat some bread.